Hi, I'm Caitlin and I read a lot. I'm coming to you today with a video that is finally about books, to talk about the books that got me into reading. I just thought I would give a couple recommendations for some people who want to start reading, and these books are just really easy. But one of the most pivotal books in my childhood that I still carry with me to this day and I still love to absolute bits, as you would expect, is, oh my god, Harry Potter. This is pretty self-explanatory. Kind of everyone in the booktube community has a love for Harry Potter and has always had a love for Harry Potter. And I am the same. I had these books read to me, at least the first couple books was read to me when I was a kid. My favorite book remains to this day to be The Chamber of Secrets, which is the second one, which is this one. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really think I have to explain too much about this, but this book series, as magical and as pivotal and as important as it is in my childhood and in my life as general, it really can't compare to the next series that I want to talk about. And though this next series I didn't actually encounter, nor did I read it until I was the age of 13, it still had such a much more stronger impact on me, and I have no idea why. It follows roughly like the standard outline as a fantasy series would, but there was just something so much more magical about it that made me kind of like, wow, these books have actually changed my life and have shaped the person that I am today. And it is the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. Okay, I want you to just take a moment and just look at the spines of these books, because I've had these since I was in year 8. I initially read it when I was in year 7, like towards the end of year 7, so I was around 12. I was just moved, for lack of a better word. I was moved by these books. I read all of Rick Riordan's books within the span of a month, and I read the initial series at least twice. I remember reading the last 2 books like 3 times within the week, because I love them so much. Like this, if you don't know what the Percy Jackson series is, it follows the main character Percy Jackson, Perseus, named after the Greek hero, and he has just been coming out of he's coming out of the school year, and he is approached by, well, I'm not explaining this correctly. He gets expelled. Spoiler. Percy gets expelled, and he encounters this thing, and it basically is telling him that he's being accused that he has stolen Zeus's Master Bolt, and by Zeus I mean the Greek god of lightning and the sky, i.e. the king of gods, i.e. the guy who couldn't keep it in his pants for all the Greek mythology. And this is the first book, just follows the story of him trying to clear his name and finding out this entire world of demigods who are children of gods, half human, half Greek god, and all of the quest and all of the magic. I don't think I can explain to you how amazing it was reading this, because previously, before reading this book, I was a huge fan of Greek mythology. I was a really big fan of it. I did a lot of research on it in my free time, and then reading these stories, after reading it, it really, what is the word? It ignited that flame even more. It really, you know when you're when something is on fire and you try to put it out, but instead of putting it out, it just makes it go bigger. That was what Percy Jackson did to my Greek mythology obsession, and I couldn't have thanked it anymore. And it really changed my life. Percy Jackson was just such a nice outlet for me, and it brought me to a whole new world that was so beautiful and magical and comforting. And to this day, whenever I feel really upset or I'm just not feeling great, I'll literally just pick up any book from the original series, and I'll just read a couple pages, and instantly I feel better. And it's like my own little magical medicine, and I love these a lot. I really do. But if you are at all interested in Greek mythology, I highly recommend them. They're so easy to read. Like, the demographic for these books is literally 9 to 12 years old. I read them when I was like 12, 13, and it was still like, it was still thoroughly entertaining. I'm 18 years old now, and I still am so entertained by it, regardless of how childish it may be or it may seem. If you're gonna read anything by Rick Riordan, you need to read the original series. I think it's his best, personally. I think it's his best like work, like plot-wise, character-wise, and like the plot development, the character development. Percy as a character, as someone who is the main character, it's so nice seeing him from where he began and where he is at the end of this series. It's so well written. I don't think I can explain. I don't know why. Some people say it's not his best written series, but I think regarding the development of Percy Jackson as a character, I think it shows who Percy is the best in these books. And Percy Jackson is the best character, in my opinion. He is the most well-written character I've ever read. That includes Harry Potter. Don't come for me, Potterheads, but Percy Jackson is actually better. I said what I said, and I don't regret it. So yeah. These are my babies, and I love them a lot. These books I kind of read when I was 10, 11, 12. I wish I should not have been reading these books when I was this young, but I was, and oh well. I first started getting into young adult literature when I was around 10, 11, 12. Again, not the age I should have been reading them. I should have been reading them at around, or at least at the age of 12. And I picked it up and I was just like, oh, this looks really interesting, because it was about mermaids and sirens, which are from Greek mythology, and as you know, I like Greek mythology. So I picked it up and I absolutely loved it. Right now, I reread one of the books this year. Didn't actually love it as much as I did, but I do appreciate the memories that it brings back. So the book that I'm talking about is Wake by Amanda Hocking. This book follows these two sisters, Gemma and Harper, and they live in this small town. There's these strangers in town, and there's something off about them. And later we find out that they're actually, spoiler, they're actually mermaids, or sirens, or however you call them. There's a difference between the two, but I'm not going to go into the, specifics. And it just follows the story of Gemma and having to deal with these sirens and what that means for her and for her life. Because they need a replacement and they're looking at her. And at the moment, when I initially read this, I loved it. I was thoroughly obsessed with it. There's 4 books to this series. There's Wake, Lullaby, Tidal, and Elegy. I do recommend it for maybe those who are a bit younger. Actually, no, that's a lie. Read these when you're a bit older, because it actually covers some quite older topics that I didn't know coming into it, because, yeah. Read this when you're a bit older, not when you're 10 and don't actually understand anything. If you enjoy Amanda Hocking's other books, another series I'm going to recommend right now is, I would prefer that you started off with the other series and then get into this one, because you can kind of see which one you prefer more. But yeah, that's my story. But this was the first book I read by Amanda Hocking, and she is still one of my one of the authors that I will always kind of keep an eye out for, because her books are really interesting and she has an interesting way of approaching the topics and the worlds that she creates. But yeah, is Switched by Amanda Hocking. It's from her, I think this is her first book. It's from the trilogy, and Trylle, and it follows the who was switched at birth, and she's basically a princess of this species who are trolls. And by trolls, I do not mean the things that hide under bridges and ask you for riddles, but creatures who are actually a lot more beautiful. I would actually compare her idea of trolls to like fae, if you know what I'm like, fairy, like Faerie. And if you're familiar with the City of Bones and the Shadowhunter Chronicles, you might know what I'm talking about, but they're basically like nature spirits. I think that's the easiest way I can compare the creatures, the trolls in this, to another creature, so you can kind of see what I mean. So they're kind of human, but kind of not. Like there's a magical nature aspect to them. This just basically follows Wendy and her adventures and trying to figure out like her life as a royal, and also there's some romance, and I just really enjoyed this series a lot more than I did the Watersong series, which was surprising considering Wake had so much like history with me. So the first book is Switched, the second book is Torn, and then the third book is Ascend. I would recommend this one definitely if you want to kind of see fantasy in a different, like, see fantasy creatures in a fantastical world in a different way, because I feel like the fantasy worlds that we're seeing these days, they're kind of getting a bit repetitive. Everyone's kind of using the same magical creatures, or you're kind of reading things that have already been done before. But I feel like this is something that's kind of unique and a bit different, and from an author that doesn't actually get as much recognition as she should, because Amanda Hocking is really cool. This is going to be the last books that I talk about, because these ones I also read at the time when I was really starting to read a lot, and it was a series that and a genre that I hadn't picked up before, but it was something that I did thoroughly enjoy, and that is the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. By now, I'm sure everyone knows what this book is about, and everyone has seen the movie franchise, and everyone, whether you read books or you didn't read books, has read Hunger Games, because there was so much hype about it, and it really deserved it. I reread them again last year, and I'm just like astounded at how amazing these books were, because I was obviously a lot younger when I initially read them, so I didn't understand the importance of the message that Suzanne Collins was trying to convey, like especially about the government and the propaganda and everything about it. Honestly, it's like when I was younger, I kind of missed the message. I was just reading an entertaining read, and I was reading a book about dystopia and that I hadn't read before because it was a genre I was very new to. But rereading it again was just so amazing, because I can see the world as it is, and I can and seeing the kind of parallels that it is to our universe right now is just astounding and utterly terrifying. But yeah, if you are really into kind of dystopia books and movies especially, I do recommend reading Hunger Games, because it is one of those books that are really well written, and it's not even just about I think that for books that have all the hype and books that actually deserve it, the list is very different. And I think Hunger Games is probably one of the few that actually deserve all the hype that it gets, and also one that I personally thoroughly enjoyed. Those are all the books that got me into reading, and that kind of had a pivotal moment, that had a pivotal impact on my life, and still to this day have shaped who I am as a person. And thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications if you would like to get a notification anytime I post a new video. I will leave all my links down below if you would like to follow me on Instagram, Goodreads, and whatever social media else that I decide to put down. So yeah, to wherever you are in the world, it's currently evening for me, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and goodbye. I'll see you next time.